Back here on Sports Biography today, we're telling you the story, and we are joined by Frank Broyles, the outstanding football coach at the University of Arkansas and also the athletic director, and a whole host of other things he has done in his life. Coach, glad to have you with us here today.
I'm proud to be on your show.
Coach, after graduating from high school, from Decatur High School in Decatur, Georgia, why did you decide to go to Georgia Tech?
Well, I was a Bobby Dodd fan, and he was a quarterback in college. I was a quarterback, and he recruited me personally. And so I had wanted to go to Georgia Tech, even though my teammates had all went to Georgia, gone to Georgia. I was the first Decatur Boys High athlete to ever go to Georgia Tech. Every other one had gone to the University of Georgia for decades. But somehow Bobby Dodd is why the attraction. And they convinced me, they gave me the old story, well, do you want to be having a business or do you want to be working in a filling station? Meaning the Georgia Tech engineering degree. So I got to take civil engineering, and I got a minor, and I ended up in industrial management and a minor in civil engineering.
Now you earned here, we understand, 10 times you earned you was a letterman, 4 in football, 3 in basketball, and 3 in baseball. All those years playing at Georgia Tech, is there one particular football game that stands out?
Well, I think that when you defeated Georgia, our arch rival, we were able to defeat them all but my last year. They beat us the last year with Wally Butts. But the victories against Georgia were always the sweetest because they were our arch rival.
Well, you also had a lot of honors at Georgia Tech, all Southeastern Conference 6 times. You was on the 3rd team in 1943, 1944 you was on the 1st team, and in 1946 you was on the 1st team also in the All-SEC. You must have been quite an athlete for the Georgia Tech team.
Well, I spent all my life in athletics. I don't know how I passed my schoolwork and how I graduated, but I did, and I was able to graduate from Georgia Tech also, playing 3 sports. But I couldn't wait. When football ended, I couldn't wait to get out for basketball. And when basketball ended, I was looking forward to the baseball practice. Wow. And I played baseball all summer in American Legion ball and so forth. And my family had enough money at that time. My older brothers had to work. And my sister had to do some work, and although she was a great athlete. But my family had enough money when I was growing up to let me play sports and not have to have a job. I've never, my wife used to say to me, he's the only person in the world that never held a job.
Wow.
Coaching's not a job, that's fun, she would say. Because I went right into coaching from my college career.
You mentioned basketball 3 straight years. You was on the 2nd team, All-SEC team for 3 straight years in basketball. It's coming out of football where you made 1st team SEC, and now here you are making 2nd team on the SEC basketball team.
You know why I wasn't on the 1st team?
What was that?
All 5 Kentucky players were on the 1st team. Seriously. Each year, Kentucky was so good.
Right.
The first 5 players on the team were Kentucky players. Wow. So they started, my last year, they said we're going to have a 10-man first team. 5 Kentucky and then 5 other players. But Kentucky was so far advanced in basketball back in those days. They were the only school in our conference that really emphasized basketball. They were outstanding, and we never beat them. Twice we came within 1 point. I remember missing a layup when the score was 38-37, and there was a lot of scoring in those days. Games were shorter and so forth, but I missed a layup that would give Georgia Tech its only victory over Kentucky at that time.
Now, 1944, we have here that the Atlanta Touchdown Club named you as the SEC Football Conference Player of the Year. How did you feel about that, Coach?
Well, I was honored and scared to death. I had never made a speech, so I was going to have to go to the Touchdown Club, accept my award, and make an acceptance speech. And it worried me to where I was a nervous wreck. It was about a minute long, but that was my first speech I've ever made. But I was flattered and honored that they selected me for that. We had a good team, and I was the tailback and was throwing the ball, kicking it, and running it.
You were an outstanding quarterback in college. We've talked about it, but alluding a little bit to that, You still own the Orange Bowl record till 2000 for passing
yardage. I owned the Orange Bowl record from 1944 to 2002. I had 317 yards passing in the Orange Bowl in 1944, January 1st, 1945, and then it was broken later. But I held it for, I think, 40-something years.
That is some record, Coach.
Well, we couldn't run the ball, so we threw it all the time.
Oh.
We got beat. That's the only bad thing.
Now, let's talk about your first wife, Barbara. We have a mural behind us, Coach. Yeah. And would you explain all these different pictures?
Yeah, this is a mural that we made. Barbara and I dated in high school. Here we are. She's a homecoming queen. Here we are. She's a homecoming queen at Georgia Tech. Here she is in high school here. And here's the first picture of our backfield. She called it our backfield, the Broyles backfield. Here we are in a wedding dress. I was in the Navy. I just got my commission in the Navy in 1945, just before the war ended. And there we are getting married. And then this is our career. Here are our 6 kids with the twins born there. And here we are. Here's a beautiful picture of her. Here's our wedding anniversary. Wedding anniversary, wedding anniversary. Here's a picture of all the children and all the grandchildren, I'm sorry. This is all the grandchildren. That's the family, the 6 children, and that's the 14 grandchildren.
Wow, what a family.
Well, it's a great family I've had. I've been very blessed, and you can see that I've forgotten who did this for me, but one of the men here in Fayetteville did this for me, and each of my children have one of these.
Now tell us the story how you met your wife, Barbara.
Well, Barbara moved to my high school when we were juniors. She had, her mother and father had gotten a divorce. She was living, I won't admit it, she was a Texan. I don't tell anybody that she was a Texan. But she moved to my high school, and we had boys' high and girls' high. And boys' high was here, and girls' high was half a block up. And Barbara lived on that side of town, so we always stayed out and watched the girls go by. And here was this new girl, and our junior year in high school. And they said, "Who is this girl?" "That's Barbara Day. She's a new girl, moved here. She's living, her mother and father divorced, and she's living with the Drurys, her uncle and aunt." And so it took me about 4 months watching her to get up enough nerve. And I knew that she had a date, get this. I knew that she had a date with Roy Brown on January the 22nd of 1941 with, for a banquet, for a dance after a basketball game. So I was going to get some brownie points by asking her for a date for that night, knowing she'd turned me down. She accepted and broke the date with Roy Brown. And so we started dating and dated until I got my commission in the Navy. Came back when I got my ensign's degree in the Navy. Right here, here's the wedding dress right here. Here she is, beautiful in her wedding dress. There's the ensign's straight. I just graduated from midshipman school. Came back, rushed down to Atlanta. We got married and jumped on a plane and flew back to Providence, Rhode Island for my service.
So you married the homecoming queen.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. She was the homecoming queen. And there's a picture of her there with the homecoming queen somewhere. Oh, there she is right there, yeah.
All right,
yeah.
great.
And there she is at Georgia Tech. She was a homecoming queen at one of the games at Georgia Tech right there.
Oh, that is a great love story.
Well, we started dating in 41, and then she died in the year 2004.
And we know all the things you did for the Alzheimer's. We'll get into that in another segment. We're going to take a break right now, and when we continue in just a moment, we'll talk about Frank Broyles, becoming Coach Frank Broyles, his coaching days at Missouri and Arkansas, right after these words on CSN TV.